Hi there, this is Claude Chabrol from Claude Films, and welcome to part 2 of the Claude Chabrol season or series. And today is his 1959 film, A Double Tour, which is also known as Leda and Web of Passion. I'm not really quite sure why it's called A Double Tour. Doesn't really make much sense. Leda or Web of Passion are far better titles. This stars Jean-Paul Belmondo, amongst others, and it's essentially about affairs and a murder set in a vineyard in the French countryside. The camera starts the title sequence creeping around a house where things seem to be broken, and it kind of takes shots of lots of things on the floor. And then after the title sequence, we kind of introduce the characters. So there's a husband and wife, a son and a daughter. The husband and wife hate each other because the husband is having an affair with Leda, who lives in a Japanese style house on the grounds of the vineyard. She came from Japan with Jean-Paul Belmondo and ended up staying on the grounds, and the father ended up falling for her. So see, he's having a not very hidden affair in front of his wife. The daughter is engaged to Laszlo, who is Jean-Paul Belmondo's character. The son, Richard, dresses in a suit all the time and listens to classical music out in the vineyard, and he peeps on Julie, who is the maid, who was the kind of love interest in Chabrol's debut film Le Beau Serge. This film is shot in blazing colour, even though there's some nice scenes involving shadows that Chabrol uses, so it's a bit of a culture shock from watching the kind of black and white, grimy, bleak kind of Le Beau Serge. So you have this bright, shiny, with upbeat music at the start, and as we introduce these characters, I would say if you can get through like the first half hour, because these people aren't very nice. The son kind of views him and his mother almost turning into sordid insects. The hate between the husband and wife is fairly intense, and Chabrol shoots an argument really interestingly, because he kind of shoots it like a love scene with two characters on either side of the room insulting each other, and then they get really close as if they're about to kiss, but they're not. It's just they're just getting closer to shout more abuse at each other. It's just nicely done. Even though this is only his second film, technically it's excellent. You kind of know that he knows what he's doing, but the characters aren't very likeable. There's pretty much nobody that's likeable in it, and again, that can be kind of one of Chabrol's criticisms. That again, technically he's a really good director, but as far as the human element sometimes lacks in his films. Certainly I disagree to a point, certainly in his later films. But this one, there's a kind of cold distance between the viewer and the characters just because they are so kind of unlikable. And they do genuinely dislike each other. And then 55 minutes in, it's not really a spoiler if you look at the poster, but Leda is murdered. So it's a question of who actually did it. So there's a character called Roger who is Julie the maid's boyfriend, and he's arrested for it. And there is a kind of element of class, because also these people are upper middle class people who own a vineyard. Roger's essentially the help, or the boyfriend of the help, so he immediately gets arrested for it. But obviously, this being a Chabrol film, Roger didn't necessarily do it. When we do find out who did it, there's just a wonderful flashback scene to the setup of the murder and the murder itself. It's really nicely done, and it's one of Chabrol's kind of staple set pieces as it goes into the psychology of the character and just the way he moves the camera. It's a really fabulous scene. Yeah, it's a film that doesn't get great reviews. I think, again, it's maybe a little bit slow to start, but if you can hang with it for the first 30 or 40 minutes, and just admire Belmondo just being completely wild, even the way he holds a cigarette in his mouth, or stuffs his face with chicken and eggs. You can kind of see he's almost doing completely different things to the rest of the actors. Yeah, so it's a colourful film. It's technically really good, and it has some marvellous moments, but not necessarily a Chabrol film that I would rush out and tell people, you know, you've got to see this. I picked up this DVD pretty cheaply, so if you're interested, then I would certainly pick it up, because again, the good thing about doing these videos as well as Satyajit Ray is you can kind of follow the career. So sometimes, obviously I would say Satyajit Ray started with a bigger bang as far as the quality of his films, whereas you can see in Chabrol's early work he's technically got his stuff there, but sometimes the scripts and the characters might not actually be there. Yeah, so it's an interesting film. I think it's better than it's given credit for. It is a nice, cool, distanced view of men and their flaws, which there's a common theme in Chabrol, and the kind of damage that their actions do to others and especially their families. So thanks very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen Web of Passion / Leda / A Double Tour. If anybody can tell me why it was called A Double Tour, I would be keen to find out. And hopefully we'll see you in the next Chabrol video and other videos. So this is Saul Chiron saying thanks very much for watching and have a good evening.